Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my draft strategy from the 6th overall spot in a 12-team half PPR fantasy football league. Inside today's video, we'll begin by looking at the ADP from Yahoo, Fantrax, FFC, and Sleeper all together, and kind of talking about what I plan to be doing from the 6th overall spot. And then we are going to actually be utilizing that strategy in a 12-team half PPR mock draft from the 6th overall spot. So you guys can see what I would really be doing if I was doing a fantasy football draft today. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do hit that like button down below. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into things. So we'll begin with just kind of looking at the draft board as a whole. Now, according to the averages from all those websites, Yahoo, Fantrax, FFC, and Sleeper, the first 5 picks before we select at pick number 6 should go as follows: Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Cooper Kupp. I would say that is pretty accurate. Now, it depends on your league if Christian McCaffrey or Austin Eckler is going to be taken beforehand. If I was up at number 2, I would probably be taking Christian McCaffrey, but I still do think the first 5 picks are pretty accurate. This year, unlike past seasons, after the first 3 picks is really where I start to see the opportunity to, if I wanted Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, then I have to take them at the 104. I feel like that's the spot where you can pull the trigger, because to me, there is kind of a tier gap after those top 3 running backs to where I'm fine sliding up the draft and taking a wide receiver, which is why we see Cooper Kupp go at the 105. So if Jonathan Taylor, Eckler, McCaffrey, Henry, and Kupp go off the board, based upon the projections from looking at all these websites, Dalvin Cook at number 6 would be our pick. Now, Dalvin Cook is kind of a bit of a confusing player because Dalvin Cook has missed a bunch of games over the last couple of years, typically misses like 2-3 games a season. But when he is healthy, he has that upside to be the number 1 running back in fantasy football, because he is one of the few running backs in the NFL that truly has a stranglehold over his backfield. While Alexander Madison is technically an excellent backup, he is a great handcuff, because when Alexander Madison goes into the game, they put him in full thrust. They give him 100% of the workload, which is great. But when Dalvin Cook is healthy, Alexander Madison is basically irrelevant. So Dalvin Cook is one of those few workhorse running backs, and that's why he goes so high in these drafts. If I was up at the 6th overall spot, Taylor, Eckler, McCaffrey, Henry, Kupp all off the board. My personal pick here, if I wanted to go wide receiver, I'm going Justin Jefferson, but most likely I'm going to go Najee Harris. Snag one of those, again, workhorse running backs. Najee Harris is an excellent running back. I understand he wasn't super efficient last year, saw a bunch of targets. One of those games, though, heavily carried his target total, but I do believe in 2022, even without Big Ben, with Mitch Trubisky or small hands Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback, I really think that Najee Harris is still going to dominate. So Najee Harris would be my pick at the 106. After that, we get into the 19 range, and at the 6 overall spot, this, in my opinion, is one of the weirdest spots to be drafting in fantasy football, because you don't get to dictate anything in the draft. At the 12 overall spot, if you take a quarterback and then a tight end in the 5th and 6th round, then the people coming back in the 6th round might start to shit themselves. They might start to get a little bit nervous and panic, and maybe you just caused a quarterback run, or you just started a tight end run in that turn of the draft. But when you're sitting there at 6, when you're deep in the draft, you're just taking a player, then you wait, you take another player. You can't really control anything. You just have to let the draft fall to you. And in these situations is where some people start to reach, because they get nervous because there's so many picks until they get to pick again. I don't think that personally there is a best spot to be drafting. I think you can win your league from spot 1 all the way through 12. My personal preference, though, is to pick at pick 10, 11, or 12. That is where I found I do my best draft. So you're back up here at pick number 19. Justin Jefferson went. Najee Harris went, obviously, to us. Dalvin Cook, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Nick Chubb, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Alvin Kamara. We're back up here, and if the simulations that we're looking at here with all of these different websites ADPs combined, we would go with Debo Samuel. I like Debo Samuel, but I'm not completely sold on Debo Samuel because I believe that they're not going to be running the ball as much with Debo Samuel. I still think he's a great player. I still think it's perfectly acceptable to draft him at 19. But my pick there would be probably to go running back yet again, load up on two workhorse two running backs that maybe technically this running back that I would select isn't technically a quote unquote workhorse running back because they do use another running back on the team, but two running backs that are going to be seeing a bunch of touches every game. And that is running back Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers. A.J. Dillon is behind him, but I still think that Aaron Jones can be seeing a lot more opportunity to catch passes this year because Davante Adams is gone. So the first two picks, we go with Harris, and then we go with Aaron Jones. And this is where I believe when you're at the 6th overall spot, you can now just start hammering aggressively at the wide receiver position. And we'll be seeing that in the mock draft we do. So after we get those two running backs, now you're looking at pick number 30. Wide receivers could be available like T. Higgins. You could have to reach down a little bit further because maybe a lot of wide receivers went. Then you can get a guy like Deontay Johnson or Jalen Waddle or Michael Pittman Jr. These are all wide receivers in the 3rd round that I like a ton. In the 4th round, you can get Terry McLaurin. Now, Terry McLaurin has been one of the most annoying wide receivers in all of fantasy football for the last couple of years because we all know that Terry McLaurin is an immensely talented wide receiver. The issue with Terry McLaurin is that his quarterback play has been complete and utter dog shit. So maybe this year with Carson Wentz, I understand most of us probably not Carson Wentz guys, but I think Terry McLaurin could have a bounce back year. Not even really a bounce back because he's always been good, but really have that true strong season in the NFL to cement himself as a potential top 12 wide receiver in the league. You go DJ Moore as well. Then the next round opens. You should just keep hammering wide receivers. You already got your two running backs, or maybe you want to sprinkle in a quarterback because at pick 54, based upon ADP, you could get Kyler Murray, who just got that big fucking contract as he is right now coming off the board as the 56th player. So you can get Kyler Murray there and then hop back into the wide receiver train or go running back. So in my opinion, the 6th overall spot, while I'm not in love with just being stuck in the middle and you're just kind of sitting there and you can't really dictate much of the draft, I think this season in the first couple of rounds, you can really dominate early on at the 6th overall spot. And I think it is definitely a very interesting spot to be drafting at in 2022. So now we are going to be sitting and moving ourselves into a mock draft on Sleeper and seeing how I believe you should be attacking the draft from the 6th overall spot. I think what we just talked about before was very helpful, but I think that this is going to be kind of the nice finisher off of the video. And this should really help you guys out because you could actually see what is going on the screen. So we're going to begin the draft here. This is going to be a 15-round draft, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, flex, and we are going to be seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bench spots, no kickers or defenses in today's video. So Jonathan Taylor comes off the board, followed by Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, and Austin Eckler. My pick here, yet again, will be Najee Harris. If you do not want to go running back here, if you are not super in love with Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, whoever you might want to take at the 106, then you could be perfectly, or you should be perfectly happy taking Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase here. I think they're both going to have excellent seasons in 2022. But to me, I'm going to go with the running back, a guy that I feel like I can trust week in and week out, even if the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't going to be all that fantastic of a team. Again, to be a successful running back in fantasy football, you don't have to be on the best offense in the NFL and the best team in the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts were not that last year. Christian McCaffrey, when he's dominated, the Carolina Panthers have sucked. So Najee Harris will be just fine. After Najee Harris comes Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Nick Chubb, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Alvin Kamara. So we are back up on the board here. Again, we already have Najee Harris. So here is again where I would be looking to hit on the running back position. I do like Mark Andrews, and I do think he's a perfectly fine pick in the middle of the 2nd round or at the end of the 2nd round. But here, I do want to be going either running back or wide receiver. I think taking Josh Allen here would be an immense reach. Looking at wide receivers, Debo, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans. Now, I'm starting to get a little bit higher on Saquon Barkley because I really do believe the upside for him is top 5 running back. Now, the downside is the fact that we haven't seen Saquon Barkley in years, and maybe he lost that pizzazz, that push that he has, that quick speed that he has. or maybe he's just the same. The offensive line is much better. The team's going to be better in 2022, and Saquon Barkley dominates. So you can go with Saquon or Aaron Jones here. I think Jones is a little bit safer, so I'm going to go with Jones. I think that Aaron Jones also has the upside to be a top 5 running back. After Aaron Jones comes Mr. Mocky Mock Andrews, Javonte Williams, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Debo Samuel, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, and Keenan Allen. You could go triple running back right off the rip and then basically just fade running back for the next 8-10 rounds. You can do that. But for me, I want to be looking at the wide receivers here. I do like the tight ends after Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Darren Waller, but I'm not overly excited to draft any of them in the 3rd round. So I'm just going to go with the best wide receiver available and get Mr. T. Higgins. I understand that T. Higgins is the wide receiver number 2 on the Cincinnati Bengals, but their offensive line got better. I think that Joe Burrow is going to play pretty similarly to how he played last season. And I think we see T. Higgins pop off yet again in this one of the better offenses in the NFL, in my opinion, with the Cincinnati Bengals. After I go with Mr. T. Higgins, we see James Conner, Kyle Pitts, Cam Akers, David Montgomery, Breece Hall, Pat Mahomes, George Kittle, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Antonio Gibson, DK Metcalf, J.K. Dobbins, and Travis Etienne. Now, I was someone a couple days ago banging the fucking drums. For the last couple of weeks, I've been banging the drums on Etienne. It appears that James Robinson was not put on the PUP list. Physically unable to participate. And what this tells me is that maybe James Robinson is going to be back significantly earlier than we thought. And if that is the case and Robinson is healthy, I think ETN might be a complete and utter swing and a fucking miss in the 4th round, because if Robinson's back, there's no way they're just going to not use a guy who has been so good for that team. I think ETN is still fine, but in the 4th round seems a little crazy right now for a guy that we know is going to be potentially in a split share. So looking here, running backs aren't looking so sweet. So we are going to go with a wide receiver here. You could go Darren Waller if you want, but in my opinion, my pick here will be wide receiver. I think if you're a little spicy, you can go for the double Pittsburgh Steelers. But again, they are the Pittsburgh Steelers with Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett. Again, I don't think they're going to be awful, but I'd rather just invest elsewhere. So we're going to go with the wide receiver 1, who a lot of people are talking up now, and that is going to be Michael Pittman of the Indianapolis Colts. I think Michael Pittman is the clear number 1 receiver in Indianapolis. I think that Matt Ryan is a big upgrade over Carson Wentz, and another year in the NFL for Michael Pittman should have a huge splash in 2022. After Pittman, we see Josh Jacobs, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Mike Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Darren Waller, Hollywood Brown, and then we see Lamar Jackson and Jerry Jeudy. So we're back up here. Again, all of the main tight ends came off the board, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the big 5 at the tight end position. So now we are just going to be taking the best player available. I'm fine taking a quarterback in the 5th round is when my eyes start to open up to it, because in the 2nd round, if it's not a best ball league, I think you are absolutely fucking insane in the membrane to draft a guy like Josh Allen. Could Josh Allen be the number 1 quarterback? Yes, I am projected to be that. But could Lamar Jackson 3 rounds later? Could Jalen Hurts, who you can get in the 6th round, do that? Yes. So I don't see a need to draft them before the 5th round. In the 5th round is where I definitely think that you could be drafting a quarterback. But here, I'm not super sold on any of these guys. So we're just going to keep hammering in on the wide receiver position here and go with another wide receiver. But before we make that pick, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy, which is the best place to play fantasy football this summer. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has $10 million in total prize money, $2 million to the first place winner. All you got to do is draft your team, and that's it. You don't have to worry about hopping on the waiver wire on Tuesday night for a bunch of hours if you're in a bunch of leagues. You don't have to worry about making trades. You don't have to worry about sitting there on Sunday while you're trying to take a shit in the morning and trying to edit a million lineups, right? It gets annoying. Underdog Fantasy will automatically give you the highest scores at every single position every week. So you don't have to worry about setting your lineup. They will automatically do it for you. Last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted their team in June. You don't have to wait till July. You don't have to wait till Labor Day weekend like you might for your regular fantasy football league. Here, you can draft in June and take home that huge prize pool. All you got to do is click on the link in the video description down below to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 with Underdog, and you'll receive our best ball draft kit for 100% free. That's a combined $170 of value with a first time deposit of $100. Please make sure that you guys do check out Underdog Fantasy. I'm on there all the time drafting, and August 1st, they will be releasing their $5 puppy tournament with $1 million prize pool. So make sure you guys do check that out. So let's get back on into things here. We are going to go wide receiver because I really think these running backs are just not super exciting in the 5th round. So I'm just going to avoid that and keep spamming wide receivers. And we are going to go with the highest upside option, in my opinion, and that is going to be Cortland Sutton. I'm already pretty confident that Higgins is a pretty safe pick. I think Michael Pittman, while we haven't really seen him put up a crazy year in the NFL, I think we should project the breakout this season. Cortland Sutton, we've seen it before, but there is some unknown. It could be the guy that was selected right before him, Jerry Jeudy. That's the number 1 receiver. But I really think in Denver with Russell Wilson, we could see a fantastic season out of Cortland Sutton. So after that, we see Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, Jalen Waddle, Kyler Short King Murray, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, A.J. Dillon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz, Kenneth Walker, and then Damian Harris, TJ Hawkinson back up on the board here. I think here, and I do this on a lot of mock drafts, so we're probably just going to avoid it this time. But Jalen Hurts, man, just seems so good in the 6th round. Jalen Hurts has the upside to be the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football because of the rushing upside. So I really like him in the 6th round, but for the purposes of this video, we will fade away and we'll go with another wide receiver that I really like. I like all 3 of these guys: Brandon Cooks, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, as well as Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen has a bunch of upside this year. This guy just scores touchdowns like it's his fucking job, which it is, right? He's a receiver in the NFL. This guy dominated last year when he was healthy. If this guy's able to stay healthy for a full 17 games, wouldn't surprise me that in the 6th round, you just drafted a top 12 wide receiver. After Adam Thielen comes Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Brandon Cooks, Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, Rashad Bateman, Drake London, Trey Burks. Here comes the Mooney, Darnell Mooney, Michael Thomas, and then Elijah Moore. Now we're kind of gone with the quarterbacks that I want to be drafting in the first 6 rounds, right? Hurts, Jackson, Allen, Murray, Herbert, Mahomes. Joe Burrow snuck in there a little bit, you sneaky bastard, but I probably wouldn't take Joe Burrow that high. So now we're looking at guys like Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Dak, and I like those quarterbacks, but in the 7th round, I'd rather just keep hammering in on wide receiver or draft a running back that I like. So in the 7th round here, this is probably going to be considered a reach. I wonder if Devin Singletary will fall back to us. He may not, and that could be a absolutely fatal decision not to take him, but I do like Edmonds and Penny enough to where I am confident enough waiting. So we're going to go wide receiver again. Now, here's a decision you're going to have to be making. Do you want to go with absolute safety, or do you want to go with the big dick maneuver here? Because the safest pick here is DeAndre Hopkins. I understand he's going to miss a bunch of games to start the season because he was suspended. But when he comes back, DeAndre Hopkins probably has top 10, top 5 potential every single week. Or you can go with the big dick upside plays like Juju Smith-Schuster or Gabe Davis. In my opinion here, I'm going to go with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is like a 3rd or 4th round pick in best ball drafts right now because the stacking upside with Josh Allen. I think Gabe Davis is going to be the number 2 receiver on Buffalo. And I think in the 7th round, I'm willing to take that because of how good this Buffalo Bills offense projects out to be. So after I go with Mr. Gabe Davis, we see Mr. Corvette, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins, Kareem Hunt, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Hunter Renfrow, Chris Olave, Tony Pollard, Dak Prescott, Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson, and then we see Garrett Wilson, rookie receiver of the New York Jumbo Jets. We're back up on the board here. Happily going to be selecting Devin Singletary here. I have talked up Devin Singletary a ton this offseason. I really do believe that it makes perfect sense to draft him at the end of last season. Devin Singletary caught on fire. This guy was fantastic. I understand they draft James Cook, but I'm not worried about James Cook really at all. I think James Cook will have some involvement on the team, sure. Right? You're not going to draft James Cook and then just fucking throw him away. But I don't think that he's going to have this crazy involvement in the offense that is going to derail Devin Singletary. Thus, I'm fine taking Devin Singletary there at the 8-7. After that, we see Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Cordero Patterson, Chase Edmonds, Brandon Ayuk, Dawson Knox one time if you are with me, Amari Rodgers, Rashad Penny, Christian Kirk, James Cook, And then we see Melvin Gordon come off of the board here. Looking at the quarterback position, there are still a couple that I'm fine drafting. But after Stafford, Lance, Carr, and Cousins is where things start to go awry, right? One of these guys is probably like Watson. If he plays, like, say he gets suspended 8 games, he plays the other 9 games, Watson's going to be a top 5 quarterback probably for those last 9 games, I would assume. But then you have to figure out what to do for the other 9 games. And there's still a chance that he gets suspended the whole season. So I would rather just take a guy that I feel confident in that I think is going to just play well in fantasy football. The safer bet here is Stafford, but I'm going with Trey Lance. I want that rushing upside in fantasy football. And I think Trey Lance is going to surprise a lot of people. But Nick, Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the team. Jimmy Garoppolo's ass is grass based upon everything I've seen out of what Kyle Shanahan is saying. Pretty confident in the weapons that Lance has as well as the system that he's in, and they wouldn't have committed such high draft capital to Trey Lance if they didn't believe he was going to be good at the NFL level. So after Lance, we see Zach Ertz, Chase Claypool, Matt Stafford, Mike Licky on Micah Gesicki, Pat Fryermouth, Isaiah Spiller, Robert Woods, Ramondre Stevenson, Christian Watson, Sky with 2 Ys more, Alan Lazard, and Michael Carter. Now it's time to hop back onto the running back train here and just select a guy with a lot of upside. I'm going to go with Dameon Pierce. Could be the #1 running back on the Houston Texans. Could end up not even seeing the field. You never really know. But I do believe that based upon the roster that the depth chart at the running back position in Houston, Dameon Pierce should get a crack at being the #1 back early on in the season. After Pierce, we see Ronald Jones, James Robinson, Derek Carr, Kirk. You like that, Cousins, Russell Gage, Cole Kmet, Jamal Williams, Michael Gallup, Justin Fields, MVS. So now we have 4 running backs that I'm pretty confident in. So it's time to hit the receiver train yet again and keep smashing on these wide receivers here. We're gonna go with Kadarius Toney here. Think it's pretty 50-50 between who's going to be the #1 receiver in targets on the Giants. I saw a lot out of Toney last year that I liked. Galladay looked so-so last year, but he was banged up. I think Galladay is actually a fine pick, but would definitely take Toney over Galladay. After Toney, we see Tua turn of the ball over. Hunter Henry, Alexander Madison, Tyler, yeah, Boyd, Rashad White, Naheem Hines, Deshaun Watson, Jahan Dotson, Tyler Algier, Jarvis Landry, Darrell Henderson, and then Kenny G. Spot Galladay. We're back up on the board here. Jacoby Myers is getting kind of slandered in fantasy football right now. He was pretty solid for the team last year. I'm fine taking Jacoby Myers here. Again, I really do think that Devontae Parker is also kind of a sleeper in this range, but we're going to go with Jacoby Myers. I think maybe we see the New England Patriots offense look to pass the ball a little bit more in 2022. We still do not have a tight end, but at this point, we have punted the tight end position, and that is okay with me. After Jacoby Myers, we see Matty Ice Baby, Albert O, Irv Smith, DJ Chark, Baby Chark, Trevor Lawrence, Marlon Mack, George Pickens, Kenneth Gainwell, Rondale Moore, Tim Patrick, and now we're back up on the board here. Again, we kind of did punt tight end, but I'm fine taking one here. We're just going to go with the safe option here in Tyler Higbee. Since we waited so long to draft a tight end, I'll probably just end up drafting 2 out of this group. Normally, I do not end up doing that. So we are going to go with another wide receiver here, more than likely, unless I like the running back value, and then just draft a tight end. So after Tyler Higbee, we see McCole Hardman, Devontae Parker, J.D. McKissick, Mac Jones, Jalen Tolbert, Noah Fant, Alec Pierce, Khalil Herbert, David Bell, David Njoku, Raheem Mostert, and Odell Beckham Jr. Here, I do like the value at running back. I understand that Gus Edwards is on the PUP right now, but I think he could return before the season. And if J.K. Dobbins really is banged up, we could see Edwards really start off strong on the season. After Edwards, we see Chuba Hubbard, Hayden Hurst, Tyrion Davis Price, Rob Gronkowski, Jamal Williams, Mark Ingram, Darrell Williams, Robert Tunyon, Brian Robinson, Gerald Everett. And then we got to take another tight end. Our tight end, Tyler Higbee, was by 7. So we need someone without by 7. We're just going to hunt for upside here and go with Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas might miss the start of the season. I think Logan Thomas is going to be just fine now based upon everything that I have read. So to recap our team from the 6th overall spot, we went with Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Cortland Sutton, Adam Thielen, Gabe Davis, Devin Singletary, Trey Lance, Dameon Pierce, Kadarius Toney, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Higbee, Gus Edwards, and Logan Thomas. Let me know down below in the comment section if you like the team we drafted, and let me know about your draft strategy when it comes from drafting 6th overall. Please make sure you check out the link in the video description for Underdog Fantasy, as well as getting our draft kit for 100% free. Make sure you guys check that out. I love you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, Good boy.